Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. I'm BZ. Tonight we're going to be talking about SHR Hits 100. Not 100, 200. Not 200, 500. Not 500. How about SHR Hits 1,000? We have just gotten 1,000 subscribers last night on Jersey's show. And to talk and celebrate about it is Jersey Joe, Sackhead Sean, Big E, Earl Jackson, and we are all here to discuss this major, fantabulous achievement. Plus, Sackhead Sean and I had a phone call about, 3 hours ago or something like that. And we had some kind of an issue with the dog. We had to go to the vet, and I didn't get to bed until midnight. So I missed everybody's show last night. And then I missed Earl's show this morning because I had just gotten to bed. And turns out the dog is fine. But I missed everything. And then all of a sudden I woke up and I started reading the green room of SHR. And I thought, holy wickedness, some really strange stuff has happened. But we'll get to that. First, what I'd like to do right now is just introduce everybody. And for the first part of the show, folks, would it be surprising to anyone to know that perhaps I have some earlier cuts from SHR related material? And the answer to that is, oh Lord, no, that should not be surprising at all. Mm-hmm. So what I'd like to do tonight is I'd like to go through everybody and just go over, we have our own story. We have an SHR Media story. So Once upon a time, back when there were wicked witches. So I'd like to talk to Sean and Joe and Big E and then myself and just go over, hey, what does this stuff mean to us? How did we get here? What is our relationship to SHR? And I will probably be doing another big conglomerate roundtable show in the not too terribly distant future. We'll likely examine this in much greater detail. But for now, and if this show goes an hour, that's fine. If it goes an hour and a half, that's fine. If it goes 2 hours or it doesn't even make 2 hours, I don't care. When we're done, we're finished. And then what I'd like to do before we go is I'm going to put this up really quick. Okay. See it? There it is. Now it's gone. And I'd like to have Sean. Earl is laughing already.
I didn't see it. I was looking at the other screen.
Okay. This one. Now you see it. Now you don't.
Yeah.
And so that's what I spent about an hour talking to Sean about earlier today. Like I woke up and this was news to me. And it's like, well, holy crap. And then if we have time, if we still feel motivated about that, I'd like to talk about this chump and what's happening with this, because apparently there's a whole bunch of new stuff that's occurring. And if we have time, cool. If we don't, that's cool too. But anyway, I want to start because I did not know this until Sean confirmed. I already know that Sean didn't tell me all the information properly about Earl Jackson down here. And that's okay. A long time ago, he didn't tell me that he knew Earl Jackson before I got Earl on the show. And I thought, hey, this Earl Jackson guy sounds really cool. Let's get him on the show. And then Earl said, oh, yeah, I already know Sean. I worked with him in the police department back on the East Coast. Thanks, Sean.
And the thing is, when you reached out to me, I thought you knew that already.
He told me. So I remember the whole conversation. He was like, oh, there's another podcaster who's not on our network. His name's Earl. And Yeah, I'm gonna have him on, and I already knew who he was because I knew Earl was doing his own thing at that point. I was like, oh, cool, all right. Like nobody's asking for my input. I'm not getting in the way of anything. And yeah, so the interview happens, and I can remember BZ was like, yeah, the interview went really well, and Earl's a super cool guy, and he's got a great story. I was like, uh-huh. And then at one point you said something. I'm like, oh no, I know. I've known the guy now for like 20 years or whatever it was at that point. I used to work with him, like spend hours next to him on a regular basis in a cruiser. I know exactly who he is. And he was like, you son of a bitch, you never told me. I'm like,
yeah, thanks. But see, I'm going somewhere with that. And that is this where I did not realize, and I think you may have told me before, Sean, that about Jersey Joe, but when I spoke to you tonight or today earlier, I said, did Jersey Joe, I came on in 2017. You guys started in, I don't know, 12, 11, 12. And he said, yeah, Jersey Joe started in 14, 15, right around in there. And now Joe tonight came on first. And I said, Joe, would it surprise you if I found your very earliest thing that I could possibly locate? And Joe kind of cringed a little bit because
I thought it was earlier than that, Joe.
This is on Spreaker.
I think it might have been a little bit earlier because I actually was doing some pre-recorded shows for you guys and sending it to you.
Yeah.
But it was right after.
Was it 2013?
Benghazi.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long after Benghazi because that's what really got me involved in all this stuff was Benghazi.
Well, the earliest one I could find through Spreaker, no video, was February 24th, 2015. So that's what I have queued up.
There's a lot of this. Real quick, when was the Romney election? That was 2012, wasn't it?
Oh, between
08.
Oh, wait.
Romney was 08. No. He was 2012 and McCain was 08.
Yeah.
Then it was right around 2012 because I think I was there for the 2012 election.
Well, they probably exist somewhere, but on Spreaker, I mean, I went click to the very bottom, and this is the oldest one I could find.
I can tell you there are other ones out there. Blog Talk Radio has pulled all the ones that we did on BTR. When we first started, we were on BTR. That was back, that was the closest thing you could have to a go live show. It still wasn't go live, but it was audio only. And we had a bunch of shows on there that were kind of our original shows. And that's where we met Ken McClinton. That's when we started doing podcasts. The first couple were pre-recorded and uploaded. And you had to actually work for it. It wasn't like it is today. You actually had to try, and you had to learn how to do a lot of stuff. And then then BTR came along, and BTR simplified things, but the sound quality was garbage, but it allowed you to take phone calls and stuff like that. And it's funny, I mentioned before we went on the air, one of the comments we got under the 1,000 subscriber post was a guy named Smokey in Texas who said, I've been listening to you guys since the BTR days, which is, I mean, incredible. Anyone would stick around that long. But wow. I do remember Smokey back in the day calling in on BTR. That we had a whole core group of people at BTR too. And it's funny. And yeah, here we are.
Do you remember your first live broadcast?
On BTR, yeah. We did BTR. And then we went to Live 365 when you could go live on Live 365. Then there was another one we used for a minute. And then we went over to uploading to Libsyn, and you would record everything yourself, and we were uploading to Libsyn and Spreaker at the time. And then I want to say 15, maybe 15. Yeah, I think 15 we went to video, and we started doing video back in the day. When that was an absolute nightmare, and you had to use the plug-in to get things so they didn't back loop on you, all that stuff, and
2 computers, crossovers, and then
I forget the name of the app. I know Ricky's in the chat room. I know Ricky remember the app. There was an app that you had to run to keep it from looping and echoing. Mix minus essentially is what it created in a board.
Well, there was that that guitar thing we used too.
Yes. Yeah, the iRig worked for that too.
Yes.
Yep.
2 turntables and a microphone.
Can you remember my first live?
Your first live?
Yeah.
No, God, no. I don't remember like my first live specifically.
Chris Peranto.
Oh, Chris was your first one. That's right.
Yep.
Really?
Yes. My interview with him.
Alrighty. Well, let's then start with you, Jersey Joe. How did you first become associated with SHR? Who did you know first, where, and how?
I wanted to do a show. I was tired of everything that was going on. I wanted to get my voice out. I forget the other guy I talked to briefly. And then I had saw Sean on X. And I messaged him and we talked a couple of times and had me record a couple shows and send it to him. And then got Chris Peranto and he's like, "You're going live." I was like, oh, shit. And then it was just from there, it just spiraled into doing live nonstop.
A lot of people don't realize that 80% of my working with other hosts back in the day was really me just forcing you into doing stuff you weren't ready to do and sending you out there and see what happens. Everything was really just an experiment for me. I'm like, well, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was.
It seems like, doesn't it? I don't know, Jersey Joe, you tell me, doesn't it seem like he made you audition, bastard?
Well, I wouldn't say he gave me an audition. I mean, he gave me a big break. The other guy,
Rick,
the cost that,
Rick Trader.
No, that wasn't him. I can't think of Big Black Guy.
Oh, I remember that dude. Yeah.
He's still doing stuff, but he's pretty much by himself now, I think.
Yep.
And then just the amount of money that he wanted, I couldn't afford it. And you gave me a shot and you always gave me a spot and never talked money and just, here you go.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Let's hear Joe's early one though, because
oh God. Yes, that's it. Wayne Dupree.
Yeah, it was.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Oh, he was pissed at me when he finally got back to me. He was like, "Yeah, let's talk about it." And I was like, no, I already talked with SHR and I agreed with them. And he's like, "Oh, you asshole." I was like, "Whoa.
I'll never speak to you again."
Yeah, there was a lot of anger there.
Yeah.
It was really weird because early on it was really cutthroat. And I know we said we're gonna start Joe's thing like 25 times, but one of the things you have to remember, and Ricky Robinson remember this because he went through this too, is you had all of these people who were, once podcasts started growing and once we started expanding and making friends, you had all these people who kind of had the same idea that we did of like, oh, I want to do a network. I want to get a bunch of people who work under my name and then we can have a coalition. And because remember at the time, the algorithm on on the internet in general, not just within YouTube, but in general, was absolutely smothering any conservative voice, just smothering it. There was an issue of cost. The cost when we first started to run live shows and stuff like that, and just for all the programs and software, was really expensive. Now it's what, $13 a month if you want to walk through the door, cheaper in some places, right? Mm-hmm. So the upgoing cost, the upkeep, the programs, the software, the equipment, blah, blah. And then some of the programs you needed someone to manage it. I mean, I can remember waking up at 2:00 in the morning to plug somebody else in that was starting their show at 2:00 in the morning, then going back to sleep. Right. So, and I was dialing into the studio. That was technology that was beyond me. The fact that I could dial from my home computer into another computer and attach somebody. So it was crazy. So we all started saying, hey, what if we started to pool things and get some people to help share the cost? Well, a lot of these other, and I'm not saying Wayne specifically, just in general, a lot of these other people, they immediately saw the dollar signs for themselves, whereas we were kind of just seeing it as a way to kind of share and work together and build together. Ricky over at K98 had the same idea, and this was before we knew each other. And kind of grow. And that's when we met Danny Butcher. We met Ken McClinton back in the day. I can remember, oh gosh, Tamara Jackson.
Oh yeah, Tammy Jackson.
John
live 405.
Yep. John at the live 405 and who introduced us to Tammy. Yep. John Grant, who was just aces with us back in the day. John was just an awesome guy. And we all just started kind of working together, and none of us knew we were going to make a fortune off of it. We just wanted to pay some bills and get some other good voices out there. So when I came across Joe, of course, me being originally from Boston and Joe having his accent, and we just kind of hit it off, and we spoke a lot of the same language. And this is back before E got into it. And I was like, oh, this is great. And Joe's background being in public safety, we spoke a lot of the same languages. And so I was like, oh, no, this is great. And Joe was easy. I cannot.
My wife says too.
Hey,
I cannot tell you how many times other hosts were not so easy. I could say to Joe, hey, can you do me a favor and make sure that your show is a minute and a half short? So the next person coming on the live 365, when we were live, we had to do the commercial transition, whatever. So they can actually, get in. And Joe, yep, no problem. Other people, it was like, hey, can you cut a minute short so the transition goes much more smooth? Well, I'm supposed to be on for 60 minutes and I plan my show for 60 minutes. And they just and I'm like, I get that. I'm asking you if you could please help us out just a wee bit. Considering we're doing all the tech work for you. Sacco back in the day was the one who was the tech genius and used to, that poor kid, he's not a kid anymore, but back
you used him and abused him.
we did. But between hosts, and we had at one point, we had 8-9 hosts on SHR. And so many of them needed regular help. And Saka would take that phone call any hour of the night, any hour during that. He was incredible at that. And I would try too. Saka would show me things, but I wasn't as technically able as Saka was back in the day. So he sucked up a lot of it. And it was just, that's how we got started. That's where Clint and I was just like, hey, there's some great other people out there that we can build some voices. And again, we weren't planning on being the next Fox News. We just wanted to have a voice that was being heard.
This is interesting. EOD operator said, as a fellow masshole, what advice would you give to someone that wants to get in and start podcasting?
Know what you want to say. Yeah. Know what you want to say and what you want your show to be about. Like I said, we're primarily politics. You wouldn't be able to tell that tonight because of the show. But we know our gist, and I would say you find it the cheapest program you can get to start. There's a bunch of them out there. StreamYard has a great option for it. But and record a couple shows in your house. Get a good mic, get a decent mixing board. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars, but spend $100-$200. And learn how all of your equipment works.
Let's also go to, I don't know if you want to throw it out, but I'm going to throw it out there because you have asked. We're always looking for new creators. So if interested, get a hold of.
Get to pass the screening, which is really just me drunk yelling at you. No,
man, just get a hold of 2 Against Tyranny on.
Yeah, I love how Joe threw that out right away. Just I saw contact.
Don't contact me. Go right to this guy.
Yeah,
he's the boss. He's the boss.
Yeah. So we, I'll be happy to talk to you off air, EOD operator. No worries. So it was a struggle, and back before BZ was with us, back before, Clint and I were just juggling constantly, and I'll give Clint a lot of credit. He couldn't do a lot of the technical stuff, like he still can't.
Oh, God, are you being kind?
Yes, I'm being very
about
kind.
Me, for God's sake.
But he handled as much as the other hosts he could. He'd take phone calls, and we all had full-time jobs and other lives, right? So we were all busy in our own right. And we just started to build this core group of people within our network. And then we made friends outside of our network. Ricky back in the day, Ricky Robinson, I keep bringing him up for a reason. He was huge, along with Danny Butcher and a lot of the other ones, because it was a lot of times just information sharing. Hey, how did you guys get past this problem? How did you make this happen? How did you do this? Have you heard anything good? This is back before the internet is what it is today, right? Where you could just, I didn't have a smartphone in my pocket. I had a flip phone. If you actually had to Google something, you might have got 10 results on podcasts and how-tos back in the day. Not exaggerating. So, I say all the time.
Thank you,
The operator. That's awesome.
I got to
that.
say
That's
one thing
amazing.
right off the bat. At least the dude has a fucking sense of humor. Okay.
He's winning already. I'm going to write that in the book.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks, EOD operator. We appreciate
That's pretty much the number one thing for with SHR Media. You gotta have a sense of humor.
If you don't have a sense of humor, don't bother showing up.
Hey, did you guys notice this? What he wrote in chat?
Oh yeah, no, I saw that ahead of time. Yeah, but he was getting.
Maybe you can give us some advice then.
That's what I'm thinking.
I look at his name, and then I saw him say that, and I'm like, no, he's going to get rookie treatment. He can wait till I respond to him before I.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, you opened the door. Walk the fuck through it. Tell me my rookie story.
Hold on, we'll get to BZ because that was great.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're still talking about me here.
Sharing a lot of the time. And it was just more of us trying to solve problems together and get each other guests because, again, we didn't have the internet. So to get guests was really hard back in the day. Ken McClinton was another great supporter of the channel. He was another great host who was around for such a long time. And he was another one who did a lot of the legwork and was great for information as well. So you had this collaboration of people who wanted an independent voice. We knew, like I said, we knew we weren't going to be leaps and bounds successful. It was super hard, Ricky. We knew we weren't going to be successful like you see today. But that's where our roots were, and we really wanted to make a go at it, and we were having fun doing it. And that's the biggest part is you got to have fun doing it. You have to enjoy doing it. And we were, and then we slowly built, and then we started doing, election night shows where we were broadcasting for 4 or 5 hours on election night. And then, like I said, Joe was in the mix at that point. So we had this good nucleus, and we all of a sudden we wanted to grow again. We had some people come and go, and that was the biggest issue with hosts back in the day is you'd have some people who are, I'm in it to win it. I really want to do this. And they'd have a good product, and then they'd be around for 3 weeks and life would take over and they realized they couldn't commit like they wanted to. And then you had some hosts who started off really strong in their content. And then as time went on, it just got weirder and weirder. We had that with a few people too. I won't say their names.
Thank you.
But they were also amazingly one of the most needy hosts that we dealt with. And I listened to the phone call 9 times a day from that singular person. So, and yeah, I mean, Ricky's going to throw that out in the middle of his show. Yeah, let me commit to that on air right now, Rick. We'll talk, buddy. I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
But you got to admit, there was nothing finer than the 2016 presidential campaign and how we covered that.
Well, so I want to go back to 2015 when BZ came into the mix because it was 15 for you, right, BZ?
16. I started bigfooting your programs in 2016, and then I didn't get my own program until January 2017.
And you started your podcast that was separate from SHR, but that's when you and I first started talking about it right around that same time, right?
Might have been a little earlier. I think when we started talking about it, yeah. But I started my show, the Liberty Cast, probably in it was probably around that same time, around 2015, 2016.
So we're all like starting in the Stone Age. And
I started my podcast with Anchor FM, if that tells you anything.
I remember that. You remember that. Wow, that was old school.
Really old school.
So, we started having the circle expand, and then I found this old retired fuck on X who was bitching about politics all the time. And I'm like, hey, you know what? This dude kind of makes sense sometimes through the dribbles. And and then I reached out to him because I knew he was local because he put right on his exit he's a retired Sacramento County Sheriff Sergeant. And I said, hey, let's grab coffee because every cop in the world, every cop in the world drinks coffee, right? That's a normal thing. And except BZ is the only fucker that doesn't. And that was actually a red flag for me. That was actually a problematic red flag. I'm like, ooh, and I can remember saying to Clint back in the day, I'm like, I go meet this dude and see if he's interested. He did radio. We talked at that point a few times and see if he wants to come in and sit with us. He needs a home. It's a home for little wanderers that we opened up here, clearly. And
what happened after we met?
The parking ticket?
Yeah.
So we meet at a coffee shop that he didn't want to have coffee at, which is even funnier. So I'm having coffee and I think he brought a Monster or something at that point. So we're bullshitting and we're like, hey, yeah, why don't you come into the studio? You used to do radio. You want to do, you want to sit in with us on Sack Kids a few times. And we were legitimately looking for a local alternate because, Clint and I both had a schedule and a life and we couldn't make every single Wednesday. So to have an alternate to be able to come through was a good idea for us. So he said, yeah. So Clinton, for most people don't know, he's a highway patrol officer. My history is in law enforcement. And the old sergeant walks through the door and we pretty much tell him to sit in the corner and shut the fuck up. Like we went right back to like, hey, you may have done 42 years there, but you're new in this house, son, and you're going to be treated that way. And
I can vouch for that shit.
We abused the shit out of BZ for that first year. And
tell him the best part. Tell him the best, finest abuse.
Well, there was a couple of them. Oh, I'll get to Vegas.
Okay.
But it was all in good fun. It wasn't just pick on the old guy. That was just a lot of fun for us. But we knew right away he fit in, right? We were having a good time with it. We could joke. We were starting to, really work it all together. And it was working out well because when one of us would need a night off, there was always two more people there for the most part.
Yeah, which was cool.
It was great to have.
That was fabulous.
I loved it because I was no longer the FNG.
Yeah, I was gonna say Joe is no longer the fucking new guy. So that was the point where we got turned on to Freedom Fest via Ken. Ken was the one that put us onto the Freedom Fest thing to go cover Freedom Fest.
That was nasty EOD, but I love it.
I know, it was pretty funny. On an IV drip, EOD. It was on an IV drip. So we set it up. We're like, we have the equipment to travel. We can make it happen. Sacco did the technical stuff. We called them. We made sure we had internet to do everything we needed to do. Yeah, we had 6 microphones. We could do all the recording that needed to be done. Great. Freedom Fest said, yes. Cool. Hey, BZ, you want to go to Vegas? BZ was like, yeah, it'd be great, but I'm probably going to drive because I'm not a fan of flying. And
then
hold on, I'm getting there, buddy. And it's only a 9 or 10 hour drive from Sacramento to Las Vegas. It's not that long.
No, it really wasn't.
And BZ had an SUV that appropriately fit all of the stuff that we needed.
I had my Kraut car.
Yep. And Sacco Clinton and I said, well, if we can fit all that in BZ's and he's going, he can be the equipment hauler and we'll just meet him there. And we flew to Vegas.
Cocktails.
Hey, we met you when you finally got there after we'd been drinking.
Sure.
So, and then it really started to balloon up for a long time. Our numbers, the Freedom Fest thing, and thank you so much to our friends over at Freedom Fest because that opened so many doors for us.
Noreen was
amazing,
fabulous,
and still is. Still talk to her. She's a wonderful person.
God.
And then that first year, because of Joe, we were able to get the 13 Hours book. Just came out with from the guys who survived Benghazi. The movie hadn't even been started yet. It was just the book. And Chris Peranto, through Joe's contact, we reached out to him and said, hey, we don't have much to offer. We don't have a ton of money. We're a small outlet. Will you? And at that time I was on WNJC in Philadelphia. doing a morning show, and I was doing Sackheads at night. But I said, hey, will you meet us out? If you want to meet us out in Vegas, we'll give you all the time in the world, like whatever. And we thought, because he was doing a book tour, and I knew he was doing a book tour. And I said, and he was like, yeah, we can meet you out there. We'll make it happen. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, I told the boys, I'm like, well, Chris will probably come out, Tonto. He'll probably come out for like maybe a day, sign some books. I knew they had to bring the books. He's doing the PR gig. I knew how that went. And then take off. Like, all right, cool. So when we landed, I remember calling Chris, and he's like, all right, I'm here until, and I think it was Tuesday. He's like, I'm here until Thursday.
Jesus.
And we're like, shit. Okay. Well, when I tell you to know what Tonto went through and to know all of his military career that we learned in the book and through the interviews we'd had him on, you could not have met a nicer human being. He was the nicest guy that, and beyond what you would expect. Like you have an expectation in your head because you've seen him interviewed a million times now. Back then, we didn't know what to expect. He was the greatest guy. And when I tell you, he put us on the map that first Freedom Fest, because he drew a crowd, and we're in the middle of interviewing all these people, and Chris didn't have to be there. He was on my morning show. I was doing the morning show a couple days a week. He was on telling his story with us. He was on Sackheads at night. We did a couple specials, and then we were interviewing other people from the event. And Chris could have just bailed out at that point and went and got whatever he wanted to do. And it's only because he doesn't know you, BZ. That's the only reason why he just doesn't know you. But Lieutenant Colonel, and I can remember this like it was yesterday. I'm in the middle of doing the morning show. I got Clint next to me. Chris is on the other side, I think. And actually, I can pull up a picture really quick as we tell the story. But and then all of a sudden, I saw and I heard he was there, and we hadn't seen him yet. Was Lieutenant Colonel Alan West. Everyone remembers Lieutenant Colonel West.
What a sharp dude.
Oh, he's a great guy. And he was,
he's amazing.
At the time, he was still in Congress. And as we're live on the air, I can remember seeing Lieutenant Colonel West. And if you pay attention to politics, he's got the flat top. You knew exactly who he was, gold rimmed glasses, and he's strolling at us. And he stops for a second, and I'm like, I wonder if I can, in my head, I'm like, I wonder if I can get him to come on just because of, his position at that point. And all of a sudden he turns around and he was like, hey, Chris, I know we've been trying to meet each other. Would it be okay if we talked for a second while we're on the air? And I was like, well, let's do it right now. Let's get you a mic and let's have this whole conversation. So that was the first time those two met to discuss Benghazi in person.
But wouldn't you say, and I believe this unequivocally, was there one person that we encountered? I only went to 2 Freedom Fests. You guys went a total of what, 4?
3.
3? Okay. So I missed one, but I can most definitely say there wasn't one person that came through that we interviewed as like a big name, so to speak, that wasn't kind and generous and good.
Oh, they were great.
And provided tons of time that we hadn't anticipated.
Yes.
They were all just superior. They weren't snooty or any of that stuff. I mean, for example, we talked to Larry Elder for over an hour.
Yep.
Michael Medved, John Stossel, Forbes, Steve Forbes.
Yeah, and through the years, we never wanted
people.
George Foreman,
yeah,
what a great guy.
Chris Pronto, I got to jump in here real quick on the Chris Pronto, because just to explain how great of a guy he is. I stayed in touch with him for a little bit, and he was doing an event near my house, one of his talks. So I went and seen him. I figured, okay, I'm going to get like 2-3 minutes with him, and that's it. I saw him beforehand, and he's like, let's grab a beer. Okay. So we're sitting there drinking beer. He's getting, all right, I got to go on stage. Follow me. And, I stood back. And afterwards, there's another event. He's like, nope, come on with me. And he was like, you just stay with me. And the whole time, just to hang out with him. And, this is Joe. And
He was just like that with everybody.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story about Chris, and I'll explain the picture because I have the most ridiculous look on my face for a reason. I'll explain after, because that was Colonel West who caused that look. There were people waiting in line to talk to Chris, and he was signing books and waiting in line and signing books. And this poor old soul, she couldn't have been, if she was a day under 90, I'd have been shocked. Waited. And as soon as Chris saw her in line, he pulled her to the front, and he ran himself and grabbed her a chair, sat down, offered her a water. She said yes. He ran up the way to where all of our waters were, got her a water, came back, grabbed another chair and sat down next to her and talked to her for like an hour straight and made everyone else wait. He didn't care. Because and he said afterwards, he's like, that woman, as advanced as she is in age, she was waiting to talk to me. All those other people have good legs. They can wait.
Oh,
yeah.
And that's just who he was. So in this picture from Freedom Fest, the reason I have that look on my face is just before we got to take the picture, and that's Chris Pronto over on his right. I don't remember his publicist's name. I apologize. That's Clint in the middle, Lieutenant Colonel
who
West.
the chick is next to him?
Well, it wasn't Clint or Lieutenant Colonel West, so it had to be her, I would think. Just
that's her.
No, I was being sarcastic. Oh. Clearly, we knew who everybody else was in the picture. I was being a smart ass, boys.
No.
Okay, that one went over my head.
So we're about to take the picture, and Lieutenant Colonel West leaned over to me, muttered something to the effect of, "I'm a congressman, and you're going to look like you're taller than me in this photo." And I lost it. I absolutely lost it. I couldn't take a straight picture from that point on. It was all jacked up. So yeah. So that was really our first big outing. And that was when we really started to get and that opened up doors to us like you couldn't believe. And we went back 2 more times. Hundreds of interviews. They're still up. If you go to Spreaker, you can go to Freedom Fest tag on Spreaker if you want to hear all the interviews. We interviewed everybody who was there to speak, everyone who was there to present, everyone who was there. I met Dan Bongino there the first time. That's the first time I met Dan. And just if you were there, if you were a booth, whatever, we wanted to interview you because we went into it, and BZ will remember this that year. But the first year we were there, we went into it and said, hey, they have us here, the 3 of us at the time, because the first year was before BZ. They have us here. They're letting us be here. We kind of bullshitted our way into this, making ourselves seem a lot bigger than we were, which is exactly what we did. We sold ourselves a little bit.
That's our job, man.
And I said, what we're, when I said we sold ourselves, I'm not kidding you. And I said, but we're going to talk to everybody. We're going to be the most active booth there because a lot of the other media outlets were only talking to people with big names next to them. They were only talking to the more infamous ones. And I'm like, well, this sucks because you have all these other great people who deserve to have at least 5 minutes in front of a mic and tell their story and put out, there's authors there, there's development, business development people, there's startups, all this stuff. So we did that every year we went. BZ will remember this. We had 3 computers going. We had 3 interview stations, one with 2 mics or 3 mics. Poor Sacco. I mean, we beat that kid during Freedom Fest, but we were interviewing from 9 a.m. till 8 o'clock at night.
It was busy. It never ended.
And yeah.
And like I say, I want to emphasize this to everybody that doesn't know what's going on. When we went to Freedom Fest, the coordinator of Freedom Fest said, of all the people that were there in that big convention hall, you guys were my favorite. You spoke to everybody, just like Sean says. You talked to everybody. You integrated with everybody. You worked with everybody. And you guys, this is Noreen Dillon, you guys were my favorite. You have a perpetual invite from now till forever. She loved us. And it was hard. It was a long day.
It was. And I'll tell you, though, we had a lot. Even though Freedom Fest is a libertarian festival, you had people from every walk of the aisle there. Didn't matter from extreme left to extreme right. And we had I can remember there was one communist dude who wrote a book that showed up, and he was pleasant. He was nice. He just was a communist, and we had him on for a debate for about 15, 20 minutes. And I remember saying to him afterwards, I wish every conversation where we were at odds were like this, because it was funny. We were jovial. We poked fun at each other a few times. And it was just, this is how this is the best example, and not me, him. I mean, he's the one who's walking to the lion's den. He did it as a gentleman. This is how you have discourse on a positive level, as much as you can disagree. And again, I know communists aren't people, and I wasn't holding that against him. But it was one of those things where I was like, no, if he's going to put it out, we'll put it out. And then, later that night, I'm drinking bourbon, Booker's bourbon, with Steve Forbes at the table while we're on the air. Nice. That's how wild that was.
I spoke to Ralph Benko, that no one knows. Ralph Benko was the president of the Alinsky Institute. Mm-hmm. Saul Alinsky. Mm-hmm. So he and I had a great conversation back and forth like civilized individuals. And the other thing that he wrapped up that I will never forget his comment in terms of, I met Saul Alinsky. I assisted him. Saul Alinsky was a firearms owner and a great lover of firearms. And he says, the other thing that I always wondered is all of this stuff is in a book. It's in a book. And I've always wondered why people on the left will use the book with all of these things delineated clearly, easy steps. Why have the Republicans or conservatives never used that book? It doesn't say it can only be used on this side of the aisle. And after he said that, because I had a copy of it, of course, I'd already read it any number of times, I thought, okay, this is a guy who apparently should be my natural born enemy, who isn't.
Yeah.
Who does believe in a certain litany of things, but yet wonders and ponders why, with this information, why haven't we used that?
Yeah.
And Dan Bongino says the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's very, very true. And I don't want to stay forever in Freedom Fest, but so Freedom Fest was great. And then afterwards we grew and our numbers were doing really well on the podcast. We started dabble into early video, which was just a nightmare to figure that out. And then the natural progression of life took over.
You used me as a guinea pig.
I did use Joe as a guinea pig for a lot of things.
Let's also tell the other story of the New Jersey radio station.
No.
How I got the phone call. Tomorrow I can't do it. You and Dan are going to do it together.
So So I was hosting on WNJC on their morning show, 9 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast. I had to do it from remote, which back then was unheard of, but somehow this little rinky-dink AM station had the ability, so we did it. And so I can remember, I forget what happened. Something happened where I wasn't gonna be able to make it, and I couldn't. So I called Joe up, and of course it's early as hell. I said, Joe, what are you doing?
Well, you called me the night before and told me and Dan were going to do it.
Oh, that was right. That was the night before.
And then the next day, like a half hour before going on,
I can't do it. It's just you.
Yeah, Dan can't do it. It's just you, huh? I don't have anything.
You don't have anything, but you're also like used to the podcast aspect of life, and now you're about to do broadcast, which you have to keep a lot of things in mind when you do broadcast. Especially back then, there were rules. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, make sure you don't do any of this stuff. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and Y. You have an hour. Make sure you hit your commercial breaks on 20 past and 20 of, and I'll talk to you later.
Yep, click.
And that was pretty much it. Again, I have a tendency to bully people.
And then it was, I can't do it the rest of this week. Can you do it?
At that point, you'd already done it. So
for me, I got to admit, it was such an honor. I'm from that area. I mean, it was out of Philadelphia. It was actually out of Burlington, I think was where the transmitter was. But I was born in Levittown, which is right outside Philadelphia. I was raised in New Jersey, 20, 30 minutes from where this place was broadcasting. And the part that made me laugh is here I am in Florida broadcasting in New Jersey. And I'm wondering how many people I know are listening to this going, is that idiot?
and they would be right.
Yeah.
So then they said we moved into the third studio, the final big studio that we had. BZ was doing his own show at that point. I had to step away. So BZ was doing both shows. And then, natural progression thing. Clint had to step away and things just kind of went dormant. you two carried on for a while, and you guys kept putting up shows occasionally, and you kept,
I went doing it about the same time.
You had a couple shows because they popped up. I remember seeing them.
Then I came back.
And then there was one.
And then it was BZ, and then there was the big move for BZ, so he was leaving Sacramento.
Kept SHR alive, folks. Thank you.
On life support, but you kept it on alive, which is appropriate considering you. I think the term is apropos, right? That you would be keeping it on life support, and so. And then time went on and things changed once again. And about a year and a half ago now, well, a little bit over a year and a half ago, we started kind of communicating again by and large. And
I'm not coming back.
Yeah. And I kept saying, I'm not coming back. I was doing, BZ started doing shows and having me on as a guest occasionally.
You were busy with the job though.
Yeah. Well, and I was not coming back. Kept saying, I'm not doing this ever again. I'm not coming back. The amount of work, because at that point, when things fell apart, I was paying the rent on the studio. I was paying the rent on all of the programs. I was handling all the business side of stuff. I was handling hosts. I was handling technology. Sako had moved. So I was doing all that stuff on top of life. And I was so stressed out that I'm like, I am not doing this anymore. Like, I'm done. I am just so done. Like, the return on investment is not nearly where I needed to be in order to make this worthwhile. So I left, and then BZ started back. And play Joe as original.
Let's start with some embarrassment.
La 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 la.
I hate this already.
It's going back to school. Mine hasn't gone back to school yet. She goes back tomorrow. So
no intro
on with the show. All right, I'm gonna play a little clip.
No intro, Joe.
No, I had an intro.
Terms.
It must have clipped it.
Illegal aliens.
I did, because I can't go backwards on
There's
this.
a little clip of Harry Reid back in I believe it was 93. Yeah, 93. Take a listen to what good old Harry Reid had to say.
If making it easy to be an illegal alien isn't enough, how about offering a reward for being an illegal immigrant? No sane country would do that.
How appropriate. How appropriate.
In this country without
Okay, I didn't search for this or anything.
That is amazing.
We reward that child with U.S. citizenship.
Because I didn't dig and dig and dig for a couple hours before I found this lovely, juicy, delicious little tidbit for everybody.
I got to start doing that. I forget, like when we're talking about a subject, to go back and look and see if I've already covered it before, because obviously most of the time we have. So that was incredible. I mean, the sound back in the day, Joe. How hot was that sheet metal box that you were in when you were recording that? Was that?
Let's say it's the same room I'm in now.
Yeah, no, it was just advancement in technology.
A better mic, better mixing board. The programs are better. Computers are better.
A little.
Yeah, just a poquito.
Yeah, and it's really funny because, you think that at that point, all four of us were broadcasting, and we were still as together as we had it compared to a lot of other podcasters. We were still, well, this is a great example of exactly what we were trying to do on a regular basis. I'm going to share this really quick, and this is self-serving, but it's also very true. This is how it was constantly. Oh, wrong one. This was our day every single week, just trying to get the show on the air. Did it share? There it is. It was just us messing with wires and hoping something would work on a fairly regular basis.
That's Freedom Fest. That's the night we got there, and I took tons. I have so many photos of Freedom Fest. It's not funny.
And but I can remember, Clint and I just saying, like, man, there's so much out here that we could do. There's so many other great people out here. Like, we really can grow this. And it was hard to walk away that first time because I did feel like we fell short. I felt like I was abandoning you guys. EOD operator. I felt like I was abandoning you guys. I felt like I was abandoning my baby, because it was, and it really choked me up to do that. And I came back for a couple of chat shows when it was just Clinton, BZ. But then we all kind of shut it down, and then BZ started to do his shows once he got settled up in the Great White North, not Canada, Idaho. And was like, hey, can you come on? Can you come on? And I was like, I don't want to come on. I don't want to do this because
I don't wanna.
I knew it was going to happen.
Well, right? You kept telling me no. Also, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I saw you on. I was like, you little fucking dick.
Joe, I told Joe no probably 100 times, because I really did not want to.
Okay, let's get you to admit one thing.
Yeah,
you were having fun driving, were you not? Initially, it was a challenge, and then I can distinctly remember, man, it was a lifestyle, and you were, except with some exceptions.
Yeah, no, I made
you were having a good time. You were seeing a lot of cool stuff.
And I did. I made a great career change. I had a lot of fun. It was something I'd never done. Something I did when I was a kid, but I hadn't done for years. And it was a different pace of life. My full-time job was managing 30 people in a multi-million-dollar company. Like there was a lot of things that were stressful, and that job was not stressful to me. Like I worked hard, but there was no stress. Flatbed in the Pacific Northwest, doing mostly lumber and construction material. You got to work for it, but it was fun. And then BZ had me on a few times, and had me on a few times again. And I think Joe, I finally said yes to you again.
Well, we ended up doing a
collaboration.
We did something on X one night.
Yeah,
it was just on X, and then it was okay. And then you did the second interview with Chris Bronto with me.
Yeah, well, and then I was like, okay, I'm not going to commit, but I'm going to do a show here and there just because it is, I was having fun with it, and BZ was nagging me. And then that's exactly what it was.
That's what it sounded like.
And then finally, I just said, okay, I got to come up with something regular again. I knew I couldn't do Sackheads because that it's a retired brand.
Yeah, we can't go back to that.
And and then I was like, we have this whole SHR entity sitting there. The two boys who are starting to broadcast again here and there. So let's I'm going to start a regular show again. E was starting to just happen to mumble around the same time about starting a show again as well.
Mumble.
Oh, I had a wife telling me to get out of her hair and go back online. Go do your show again. Get out of my hair. I'm tired of hearing about politics. Go.
And then, I rehashed Edge of Liberty. For a lot of people who don't know, that was the show that was on WNJC, was Edge of Liberty.
That's right. I forgot.
That was the morning show. And I brought that back. I actually still have the original logo. And I kind of said to the boys, I'm like, all right, if I'm going to do this, for lack of a better term, we're balls deep, baby.
You forgot the phrase, comma, you fuckers.
You fuckers. And then, and then fortunately, and at that time, people may not understand why 1,000 subs on YouTube is big for us or good for us. We hadn't really done YouTube. Like, we had stuff on YouTube, but we never pushed it. We never advanced it because the algorithm was what it was. I think when we started back seriously last September, when we really started getting going again, and I think that's when E was starting to come on board too. We had 400, 300 subscribers.
I actually looked it up. And here's the thing. I want to interject this real quick.
Go for it.
Because there was some idiot in chat was like, oh, look at that. 11 years or 13 years. And you only got. What he doesn't realize is we shut this down for how many years? And we've only been back for like a year and a half.
And before that too, a lot of our original YouTubes were auto posts of the audio podcast with an image that Libsyn and Spreaker would kick over. So we were on YouTube, but we weren't exactly on YouTube like it is today.
Can I interject something here, if I might?
Yeah.
With regard to some numbers. There's a dude that I know that I wanted to come over here and update my studio. The guy's name is Jeremy Hansen. You know, he's got the voice that I would kill for. So if he ever dies, I'm reaching down his glottis and pulling out his voice box. That said, the dude is an analytic wonder. Okay. That's before you had to encounter all the crap that you encountered, and we'll get to that. But Jeremy Hansen was doing analytics on my show through SHR for a while, and he said, I'm telling you, they're covering you. They're not letting you see what you're getting. And I'm finding, if I'm doing all this digging and assembling all this stuff, you are getting anywhere from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20,000 viewers. And on one show, you got 100,000 viewers. That's just me. So one time I said, okay, go back and do what you do with SHR and give me an inkling of what it is that SHR is getting. And that's 2019, 2018, 2019, right around in there. And he says, together, you guys are getting generally about 500,000 hits, as opposed to what we see now on YouTube.
Well, and we all know, like, I can tell you, when we, as SHR, all of us, and we had on our Spreaker, we had 10 shows under SHR. We were having shows, just downloads, straight audio, no video. We didn't do video yet. We were getting 10 or 15,000 downloads that we could see. And this is back in the day. I mean, we're talking 2013, 2014. And actually, I can tell you exactly what it was. It was 2011 going into 2012. And once we got into that election cycle, all of a sudden the numbers died. And then they went back up when we did Freedom Fest. They went back up here and there. But that's when they really started the hard throttle. And we went from tens of thousands of downloads to 100 sometimes, which is just entirely demoralizing, because we're putting out a better product in our perspective, and we're not being rewarded for it. And that was hard too.
It makes you wonder, and rightly so. I will get to the part where you are working so hard, but Earl, you, Jersey Joe, we've all been working so hard to look at what we think are the hard numbers, only to discover, no, we're stepping on your neck completely. The other thing I want to do before we go is, before I forget, because I can.
Hold on, because I wasn't done.
Oh, okay.
I just figure if we're doing a walk down memory lane, might as well get everyone caught up through today. So then Big E, who everyone knows now, and I go back to our youth, essentially, back when we were both very much younger men, a lot less gray, a lot less gray. And I knew he did a show, and I was bringing this back, and I knew he'd been rumbling about starting a show, because completely separately, before he knew I was even coming back, he texted me. He's like, hey, I was thinking about doing another show. Like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? Da, da, da. So when I started up Edge of Liberty, and I committed again to the boys saying, all right, we're going all the way in. I reached out to the big man and I said, hey, will you be interested? And his thing was kind of like Joe's when it came to going live, was like, I never really did live before. And I was like, oh, it's a blast. You'll love it. Live's so easy. It's a natural step from one thing to the next.
But you know what, though? The difference between going live and recording and editing and all that stuff is like night and day. Now, with going live, like when I was recording, I had my scenes in OBS, and I had all different kinds of good, cool transitions, and I could put stuff up, and it looked easy. It looked smooth. But I mean, there was a ton of editing involved. And so it would take me 8-10 hours after recording, or maybe including recording, to actually get a show up. And now, with my prep and recording, once I'm done, And until I got to prep the next show. But it's it's so much easier to me.
I'll ask you going from the live transition. I'm actually going to ask everyone but BZ, because BZ did radio in the 70s, so he did live prior to everybody else. Our show, Sackheads, was recorded semi-live because we just went on a topic. We didn't really edit it afterwards. It just was what it was. How long after you started doing live shows were you able to make the mistake on air? Just whatever the mistake was, didn't matter. We all make them all the time. And just your brain finally went, all right, fuck it, I'm just moving on now. And you weren't like screaming in your head like, oh, I can't believe you hit the wrong button again.
You know what? In my mindset, I was live. There was absolutely nothing I could do about it. So I just, it never really, not to say it never bothered me, but I never dwelled on it. I was like, I made a mistake. I can't rewind. So just continue the march. So it was never really a huge issue for me. I mean, obviously I would replay it in my mind and I would beat myself up over it, still do when I make those mistakes. But at the end of
Speaking of,
oh no.
You froze up for a second.
Yeah, you froze for a second.
He's good
now. Oh, there it is again. Jersey Joe, I'm going to ask you that same question.
Now, I hate making mistakes on air, and it still bugs the shit out of me to this day. But if you remember that first live show with Chris Perantu, the technical issues we were having that night, oh my God.
Yeah.
So it kind of taught me back then just to go with it, but also going back to my background in EMS, nothing's perfect. You better learn how to get around the mistakes and just go the fuck on.
Yeah, it was crazy. Now, BZ, when you started radio, what, in the 70s, I think it was?
Yeah, I started in 72.
And you were at that point a young man of 150, 160 years old.
Yeah, I was still in my prime.
And if I'm not wrong, your first time on the air, you recounted the time you met Washington at Valley Forge.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll tell you how I got into radio. I was at WWSU at Wright State University in Ohio, and I was walking down past the Rathskeller, which was the drinking establishment, and there was a radio station, and there was a guy behind a window, two turntables and a microphone. And the guy got up. His name was John Scally, and he rushed out, grabbed me, pulled me in, said, I have a class and a test, pushed me in the chair, said, here's this turntable, here's that turntable, here's that mixer. This is what you do when you have a break. Read this in front of you. I got to go. Goodbye.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into radio.
Wow. That is outstanding.
It's like, Jesus, mister, thanks. And then I loved it.
Yeah. And it was fun to watch you come back and try to learn technology. It's like,
technology. Here, you remember editing? Remember creating commercials? Here's how you used to edit. You had 3 Ampex decks, and you had a metal bar, and you had tapes, an intake and a master, and then you would record it, hit record, a reel-to-reel tape would go.
I think we're going to need some translations for this for some of the younger people.
You'll have to figure it out. You'll put the cart deck over. Put the cart in, and when you edited on the edit bar with a razor blade. You cut tape to edit.
My dad used to own a radio station back in the day, and I have done that. I have absolutely done that.
That is so funny. And BZ, when you came to us, technical Luddite is an understatement, as you like to call yourself. I remember watching you, like, trying to show stuff to you. And have you ever seen like an infant wearing like Timberland boots who can't walk, and it's just ironic that they're wearing the boots? Or
we go, wait, so that's where you got the Timberland boots on the cartoon for BZ.
It's almost like a deaf guy wearing headphones. Like, he's got them, but it's not really being effective. You know what I mean? That was introducing BZ to technology.
Wow.
And I was at a detriment because Sacco had already left. and I had Clint, who was even worse with technology, if you can believe it, than easy.
Okay. Please, I'd like to hear you say that again. There is someone who exists that's actually worse with technology than BZ
and could not learn it.
Now, my question also: have you talked to Sacco?
I haven't heard from Sacco in a long time. I actually talked to Clint this week.
How's Clint doing?
He's doing well. He congratulates everyone on the 1,000. He says he's really proud of us. He was really excited for us, so that was super cool. But yeah, so I had Clint, who's my age and should be able to learn, and it's not even like technology. He just should have the ability to learn still. And for people that don't remember Clint,
he's 40.
Sackhead Clint was unbelievably intelligent, highly intelligent, to a frightening point.
No doubt.
Except when you put technology in his hand, he started drooling and actually either gained or lost a chromosome. I'm not sure which one it was. He all of a sudden went upside down. And I can remember having to show, like, and it would be like tech class in here on show nights where I'd like show BZ how to do something and show Clint how to do something. And then I'm walking around like the teacher, and BZ would be like, I think I got it figured out. Can you check my work? And I'm like, oh, no, yeah, you got it. That's how we do it. You know, and then what you want to do is X, Y, and Z. And then I'd go back over to Clint, and the computer would just be smoking in front of him. It was the most amazing. I've never seen somebody so stupid with an object as an adult as Clint with technology. And he admits it all. He never argued it. Like, he used to get frustrated with himself for not being able to learn it. But BZ would be 10 times easier, to the point that when I left and Chat Show took over, BZ ran all the technology for that show.
Here's the one thing that I wanted to tell is, number one, I actually got you to admit that.
And it's on recording.
Rather
like Ricky got me to agree to a State of the Union crossover.
And number two, when we had the Chat Show and it was just me and Clint, before Clint would get there, because Sean,
oh God,
at what time customarily would Clint show up for a show?
Well, show started at what, 8?
Yeah, at 8. Yeah, and he would show up about
7:57.
Yeah.
And then he'd be like he would honestly be like the Tasmanian devil, because he'd have 10 topics. We had a board that we used to write everything down on to cover, and he'd be over there trying to clean it and write and explain to us, you know, oh, we're going to do this, we do that. And he wasn't wrong. We usually talked during the day, so we had some idea. But he would be like the Tasmanian devil floating through this place, and he would still be eating his dinner because he just got off of work. So he's shoveling food in his mouth.
And it was color coded. He color coded everything. He had dry erase markers for me and you and him. And this is question who was doing
what. And that's what happens when you have an operator and you let him be in charge of this stuff. But I will say, in Clint's defense, he never showed up ever without a Diet Pepsi for you.
Yes.
And a coffee for me.
Oh.
That was his get out of jail free card. He knew as long as he showed up, and Earl will tell you, me and coffee. You can pretty much, you can buy me out of anything with a good cup of coffee. And Clint knew that. And that was like his, I'm sorry, I'm late, guys. And he'd always say, I'll be there at like 6:30. Oh yeah, I'll be there at 6:30.
Yeah, sure.
And I'd be in here at 6 starting to build the show. And he'd call me and be like, oh, we're stuck a little bit late. We got a call out or whatever. I'll be there at like 7. And then,
now, what do you consider a good coffee?
What?
What do you consider a good coffee?
Actually, we have a couple places close by here that are little coffee shops that were incredible.
That's for me a good coffee. To be honest, is even a 7-Eleven. I'm used to Firehouse coffee. That shit was made that morning and just sat around.
I will. I got to tell you, I used to love 7-Eleven's coffee.
Yeah. DG for me is the top.
We would go to Starbucks. We used to. E and I used to go to when we were on Footbeat together. E, do you remember there was a Dunkin' Donuts and the Starbucks, and we would avoid the Starbucks like a plague? Yeah. I mean, we would avoid it like a plague. We would make fun of people,
and it's nothing political. I do not like the taste of it.
And it always tasted burnt to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And we would go, I mean, I can remember snowstorms where we would walk because we were on Footbeat. We would walk to Dunkin' Donut coffee. And then because it's a snowstorm in Boston, there were no calls unless it was a domestic. We had no calls for service that night because nobody was out. Everyone was in the house. So we would sit in that Starbucks in that Dunkin' Donuts for the remainder of the night for the most part, because there's 16 inches of snow on the ground. And you didn't even have the snowman suit that I had, the zip up snowman suit.
No,
that you could wear. So yeah, it was pretty.
Actually, I just thought of something that I want to give advice to EOD. He wanted to know about doing a podcast. Guests on other people's show. You'll learn, I think, a lot. I mean, one of the things BZ did when he first came back, he was, as he called it, bigfooting on a lot of people's show, guesting on their show to learn what to do.
Yeah.
Am I wrong, BZ?
No. Hell, at the beginning of the midpoint of 2016, my stuff was I would Bigfoot Ken McClinton's show on Monday for an hour. And then you guys were every Wednesday for 2 hours. Then I'd Bigfoot your show. And then there was help me out with this. Sean, who was the chick who was the red-haired, she called herself the something Fox from
gosh.
She passed away.
Yeah, I know. She was every show of mine. She was there. I know who you're talking about.
She invited me on the show. Jersey Joe. So I was doing, I don't know. I was stomping onto probably 3 or 4 shows a week, and especially Ken. Maybe this is time. I wanted to do this, but maybe this is time to do it now. I want to say a thank you to Jeff Dunitz. Jeff Dunitz had his show here on SHR, and it was called the Lid Radio Show. And then Jeff passed away last year on July 24th, or I'm sorry, a little bit before July 24th. He was only 67, but he had a show on SHR for quite some time. So if no other, and that's the other thing that I want to thank you, Sean, for not taking it down. So if you go to Spreaker, you'll find that it's still up there. You can still listen to some of Jeff's shows. Great guy.
We took that off of monetization. We're not going to make a red cent off that for a reason, because I wanted to leave his legacy untouched.
Ed Morrissey of Hot Air, loved him. He was a standard on Hot Air. He knew tons of people. Just a super great guy.
Just smart as a whip. One of the funniest people you could have on your show. I can remember when he would call into Sackheads. And if you want to know more, I have a memoriam for Jeff on our page too, under the About section, and some pictures of Jeff and stuff like that. But one of the things I loved on the SHR Media page, one of the things I loved about Jeff is no matter how serious of a situation, a lot of times we were covering war in the Middle East, right? And Jeff was a proud Jew, and when it came to Israel, he was a staunch supporter. No matter how serious a conflict was or whatever, he could make anybody laugh, and he could make and not just giggle. Jeff would make you hold your side, painfully laugh. He was the funniest son of a bitch.
The thing about him is he was self-effacing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
100%.
If there was anybody that he could make fun of, it was him. First.
Yeah, he was an angel, man.
The guy had a sense of humor. Phillips 457, right down here. Blessings to you guys from Australia. Thank you kindly for being here tonight, Phillips 457. I really appreciate it. And then EOD operator, I got to put this in, says Starbucks coffee is brewed on Satan's
taint is in the taint.
Okay, that's what that was. All right.
I really think he should let it out more. He holds back a little bit too much. I can tell already. He should let it out more.
Yeah. Okay. So EOD operator, I got to tell you right now, you can see where this is. There's my spot.
He's already got me on X.
And
I sent
go
you
there, send me a message. I want to find out where you are on X, and then Sean will probably have you on. I'll have you on. Let's chat.
Let's
talk.
make it happen.
I already sent them friends or whatever they call it, follow on Twitter. So at Jersey Joe Talks.
So, and just to catch everyone up, so this brings us kind of SHR today, right? Where we have the 4 core. We have this great friendship with KLRN, but we have our 4 core shows. And when we came back, did he say block me or book me? Because both are possible. When we came back in September, we said, okay, we're gonna really make a run at this, and we started doing shows on a regular basis, a consistent basis. And then we had to learn how to do YouTube again, because YouTube had changed so much. Things were easier to get there, but what you needed to build YouTube was difficult, and we still were having minimalized numbers. But we were being consistent. We're doing our show live, and not missing or rarely missing shows, and the numbers were starting to trickle in a little bit. The website numbers were actually, after we redesigned the website, originally when I first came back, we just did an upgrade on the visuals, and it started to pick up. We started doing some articles here and there, but website, and we write some articles on SHR Media if you want to check them out. But how you post articles had changed. Now, I went to a guy who I thought would get it, which was Big E, and be like, hey, you work in the tech industry. What the hell? And he was like, yeah, I don't know. So I had to do a lot of digging on my own, and, all of a sudden SEO is a requirement, which it never really was before. Like all of this crazy stuff that had changed in the last few years. So we started to rebuild it. I said, hey guys, like, we're going to do this. We're going to start writing regular articles. We're going to start writing good articles as companions to our show, and because we want to do media, SHR Media, not SHR Podcasts. Like we're more than one outlet. And yep, there it is. And so we started to build it back, and the numbers went great for a while. And our YouTube numbers weren't doing great, but our SHR numbers were doing well. And I'm like, okay, the product's getting out there, right? And we're all writing op-eds for the most part, and I say for the most part because the old bastard doesn't. So we're pumping out, and I'm finding all the requirements in order for Google to be okay. And I know we're conservative, so that's going to kill us in the algorithm, but we're hitting all these things. You gotta make sure you meet all these guidelines and that guidelines. And then I reached out to a friend of mine whose whole job it is to interface big businesses with Google for search results. That's pretty much the entire job. And she's like, oh no, you're not even in the ballpark. You have to do 25,000 other things here, X, Y, and Z, and do all this in the framework. So I spent almost a month and a half.
A lot of time.
Oh, it's over 100 hours. Getting the website up to snuff so Google would even give us a sniff, and the numbers started to bounce back really well, and I was really excited. And then an amazing thing happened, and BZ teased it earlier, but we can talk about it now. Google, who also owns YouTube, started to play games. In December, they did what was called a core update, and the core update essentially focused on user experience and how does your website look to the users, and what kind of website are you? Well, because of what we are and how we're starting to write articles and stuff, they immediately put us into a news outlet. That means the search parameters and what we can post in order to be recognized by Google became so much tighter. So I went back to the boys, and I'm like, all right, boys, remember how I said you just have to do these couple of things? Well, now you have to do these 45 other things per article to make sure that we're meeting the criteria for Google, on top of doing all the back end stuff where I had to do all the work, because we had an old site that I just visually updated, but it was so far out of compliance it wasn't even funny. So I spent hours doing that. And then I had it run through a couple of programs through a friend of mine. They said, yep, you're exactly where you need to be. Everything should be good. You meet all the requirements for the core update. Fantastic. Our numbers nosedive, but it wasn't just us. Every major media brand web numbers, and that nobody's talking about this, which I think is hysterical, took a nosedive because Google essentially said, we reset everything and our search results and how you get results. And it'll nosedive because Google essentially, whoever that was. So it'll take a while, but it'll start to tick up again. So I'm like, okay, it's frustrating. In the meantime, though, YouTube, who also is owned by Google, said, hey, essentially, we've been throttling conservative podcasts from the beginning of time. Forever. We're finally admitting that we're doing it. We're trying to change that. I have a theory as to why. But all of a sudden, they started to open the taps on YouTube. And incredibly, our numbers have gone up in the last 2 months by 400 subs, thousands of hours of thousands of views, thousands of hours of views, without going too far into the weeds. And all of a sudden, we're starting to get responses to our shows and people in the chat room and all this other stuff that we just weren't getting before. And they're like, hey, this is fantastic. We're finally we're finally getting recognized for a product that we all knew was a decent product to each one of our shows, like something where, yeah, we may not be one of the biggest podcasts in the world, but we definitely have some good stuff going on over here. And then Google turned around and said, yeah, no, you guys can have that. Oh, but we're going to release another update in February. That other update is going to tighten up the user experience requirement even more. And the other thing that I discovered while I was doing research on this, and this is why I wrote the article, The Great Digital Heist, that's on SHR Media right now. Google's AI is fucking every creator like the four of us on our websites, like a $5 whore. And let me explain why. When you now do a Google search and you get the Gemini AI result, and I can tell you have what's called the Search Console. You can see how many times your content gets seen in a response and how many times it gets clicked on. So if you search in whatever, the Constitution, it will throw the SHR Media article for the Constitution that we have up, that is what's considered an authority evergreen post or article. It's essentially the U.S. Constitution, how it applies, and it's not an opinion piece, whatever, which is a requirement in order to show up in search engines. You have to have what they call authority. You have to have so many articles where it's just black and white, very dry, informational. Unless you're one of the big media outlets, then you can put whatever you want up there. Yeah. It doesn't matter, OnlyFans or whatever. That suddenly just, you can go right to the top. But what YouTube does in those Gemini responses is they'll scrape all these different websites. They will find the answer you're looking for. And instead of presenting you with the website directly, they give you the answer in the search box or the little Gemini box that shows up. They use our content, not just ours, every creator. This is not just political. This is every small mom and pop shop. If you own a restaurant out in the sticks and you put your recipes online for people as a way to like, hey, here's our recipe, and then come check out our shop, whatever. They're putting your recipe up, but they're not overtly presenting the link to your shop, to your website for people to see. Now you can look and click eventually, but it's not, hey, this is where we got this, or hey, go here for this. Wow. They're now taking clicks away, which again, for us is not the end of the world, but for a lot of smaller creators, it is. That's their livelihood.
As we were talking about, think of the millions of small creators that are, I don't know, similar to us. Mm-hmm. And, we're pissed off, but the dealio is, and I gave creds where creds and props are due. And that's to you right over here. We discussed, what if some business that relies on this to live, and all of a sudden they don't even know that they don't know. They went to GoDaddy. They picked up, they created a website, but they don't know any of that crap. Yeah, they don't know HTML, or they spend money for somebody like you that knows what to do. But mostly they don't know that they don't know.
Well, exactly. They don't know. They don't know. They did not. This was a real soft rollout, and I looked, not a lot of people are talking about this. EOD is 100% right. And I always think of like a small author, or maybe like, the person who has gotten into putting up their food videos on their website and recipes, right? Where that's become their life and that's become their livelihood. And up until Google just decided to switch it. Now, The other search engines don't do that. We get good results from DuckDuckGo. We get good results from Bing, believe it or not. It's only Google, which percentage-wise, and I wrote it in here in the article, just how the internet works, we should get 800% more from Google than we do the other two, just because how much Google is utilized. And we don't get 10% as much as we do through DuckDuckGo. And wow. I think it's 10%. So, it is kind of like the Napster moment. And I know there's a couple of corporations that are suing Google for doing this to them. I know the Rolling Stone, their parent corporation's doing it, the magazine, a couple other ones, because this is exactly what they're doing. They're taking clicks and views. And for us, the clicks, we're not going to make a lot of money off advertising. I'm not worried about that. But the exposure to our product is what's taking the bigger hit. And we're dancing, like I said, I was fortunate that I had a friend that does this professionally, and they told me everything I needed to do and has been an amazing resource through all of this. But if I didn't have that, if I was a small business, and like BZ said, you didn't even know, or if you did know, you now have to pay somebody to get it up to compliance. It is a fist, and it does violate antitrust laws. I do see class action suits coming out of this against Google.
First thing I said when I woke up this morning and I saw all that crap that you went through, because we had a thing that went on with the dog, and I woke up and I saw all this stuff and I went, wait, what the hell
happened last night?
All this that apparently I completely missed. And after reading that, I said to you earlier in the phone call, I said, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that crap. And I'm livid. Can you imagine what would happen to the person like yourself that spent like a month spiffying stuff into HTML shape? Then it gets all destroyed. Then you have to do it all over again for another set of weird ass parameters from Google to make things acceptable.
Well, and there's a difference between capitalism and crony capitalism, right? I mean, we talk about that. We've talked about that a lot on this network, where if you just allow capitalism to be capitalism, it would be fine. But when you have crony capitalism, it's the system is rigged. And Google, you look up at how many lawsuits Google has against it right now for this sort of thing and other ventures, and it's through the roof.
Thank God. I said,
and they don't care because they can afford it.
Class action, you bet. Billions.
Hold on.
What?
Hold on. My phone's telling me how many lawsuits Google has against it right now.
It heard you.
There's 100 antitrust lawsuits active against Google right now, according to Google itself. That is the funniest thing. And naturally they know I'm talking about them, but it's I think, like I said, yeah, it affects us, but how many vacation bloggers, where they scrape a location description or summary from the top of their article, get hosed now because they do depend on views or their articles. And I think this is part of pushing creators back to YouTube so they can make better money off it. Because what happened is YouTube picked and chose its winners and losers for the longest time. As we know, this is not a secret. This isn't anything that anyone's going to argue. And what a lot of big creators just said, okay, fine, I'll just start my own website and I will just start putting my videos on my own website. I have enough clout where I can get enough people to come to my website, and I have enough namesake to do that. And I'll just host it off of Google or off of YouTube, and I'll do my own thing. And YouTube went, oh shit, we're losing a lot of money on that in advertisement. So,
and that's what I never really understood, because they've been doing this. I remember Steven Crowder talking about this in 2009.
Yep.
When he was getting throttled by YouTube.
Yep.
And between that and how much money he could be generating for them, and all the other ones that are getting throttled and kicked off of YouTube. Dan Bongino is a perfect example. Going over to Rumble and setting up their own platforms. It wouldn't surprise me if they were trying to bring people back.
Force them, essentially, because Now those people who are existing on a website only, their website's now being buried by this user update.
Yeah.
So their views are going to drop. And what are they going to do? They're going to go to exactly what we're doing. The whole reason we're on YouTube is because that's where your biggest fan base is going to be, no matter what, no matter who you are as a creator. The amount of users that YouTube has, the largest fan base is going to be there. Rumble's great, but it doesn't have the fan base. It doesn't have the
only for the big dogs.
Yep. And they've
only
shown
for people like Bongino and
they've shown their ass
Rogan and some of those other ones. Besides that, I mean, my show's on Rumble, 35 views.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's a good show.
And now on YouTube, we're getting 1,000, 1,600 views a show, which is huge for us, Joe.
Kick, we aren't getting anything. Twitch, Rumble, we're getting. BC's got a good following on Rumble. But, Twitter, or excuse me, X, we were doing okay for a while, and then it's just dropped recently. The only place doing anything is YouTube.
Yep.
I do want to I've been waiting on trying to interject this. I was going to try to say something earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt and get yelled at. This form of SHR Media, I think, is the best form that we've had. And it's nothing against the old days of SHR Media. There's shows that were on there. I never talked to any of the hosts. The four of us, I got to say, in my opinion, we're pretty tight. We have our own little chat, and it's like every day, every other day, we're always talking to each other. We know what's going on. We're talking about content. We're talking about news. We're very tight. And I think that shows in the shows we have. I mean, I would have never seen something like this back in the day, where we took 4 different shows and threw them together, and we do this pretty decent
regularly. No, I agree with you. I think that we have a good collaboration.
And this isn't a knock against the other people.
Well, the guy running it back then was an asshole.
Let me guess, you're gonna blame Clint.
Yeah, it was Clint. That's all Clint's fault.
I blame Clint. Yeah.
We've done a great job. And I thank the 3 of you guys for really bringing a different show. As much as we all agree, all of our shows are vastly independent of each other, but they also coalesce in a wonderful way. We have almost every side of the conservative spectrum that are all really, really conservative, but how we present conservatism kind of covered really, really well.
We each do a separate show, and that's the thing that I think is wonderful. And
we've evolved too, because I mean, when you look back at some of the shows that we've done years ago, and just watch the progression of what they were then to what they are now. Not that they were terrible. I know some of mine were pretty bad, but
they all were.
Just looking at what we've done and how we've evolved since then, I think that also has a lot to do with the success that we're seeing.
Oh, I think quality is a major part of it. I think our content's a major part of it. Like I said, we're all different. It's really funny because I don't get this in my show. But like Big E's show is so much more calm and direct and evenly paced. And, if you know E, that's how he just talks. That's his whole personality. He's just smooth front to back. That's his whole way of life. And his show is an unbelievable representation of him. And it drives people crazy in his chat room that he's not like yelling or like talking really fast or like yelling back at the commenters.
Oh, but you were the other night.
I was, because it was fun. But I'm a spastic case, and everybody.
you did not lose your cool. And that guy's like,
no,
he got angry. And he was mad. What the?
No, he was talking about Rick, because I was reading that. Rick was laying into that dude hardcore. It was really funny. Rick was essentially motherfucking him in chat. But real
quick to point out, Monday night, 2 of the segments I did, you did the same topics. But they were totally different outlooks.
Entirely. You and I run into that a lot because we're both on Monday nights. Monday nights is the show where you and I will cover the same topics. But it's funny because E and BZ cover a lot of the same topics too, both being on Tuesday and Thursday, and present it an entirely different way.
Well, I was asked by somebody, well, do you have to get approval from others? Do you guys talk about what you're going to do on each other's show? And
No, we do not.
Every now and then I might ask an opinion to Sean or, the guys. I might throw it out there, what I'm doing, but it's not, oh, can I do that? No, we do our own stuff. We don't tell each other what to do. We try to keep BZ from playing copyrighted constantly.
Yeah, if we can just get BZ to stop trying to get us thrown off of YouTube. He tries really hard.
Not so much anymore.
No, you're better now.
Am I not more conciliatory? Are you not entertained?
I don't even care about the conciliatory as long as you don't get us nailed with the copyright and thrown off for saying the few keywords you're not supposed to say. We'll be fine. I don't care about anything else. No, but I agree with Joe. I think that's one of the things that we have is a great working relationship behind the scenes too, and we share a lot of information because we want each other to be better. Yep. So go one, so go all, rising tide raises all ships. All of that does apply, but it's also a personal, like I personally want you guys to do better in your show because, I care about you guys. You guys care about me. You can tell in our conversations.
It's also our background that brings us together.
And eyeballs, we're all aiming towards the same goal.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I would like to announce officially,
you're pregnant.
That I guess now I'll come back full time. I'll start handling some of the stuff behind the scenes again. I'll start managing a little bit, I guess. Like, all the stuff that I didn't want to do before, I'll leak back into it slowly, and it wasn't thrust upon me like a sledgehammer to the skull.
And like back then, I'll be getting the phone call. Joe, can you go do this?
Well,
Jeff, can you put this show up?
So, and it's funny because oh God, yeah. But even now, like I still, with everybody minus BZ with the technical stuff. But if I say, hey, can somebody do X, Y, and Z, or can you put this out, or can you do this? If a story comes up, we're going to write an article on, hey, I'm going to write an article on this, or I got this, or Joe, can you write this for me, or whatever. And it shows in our forward facing product. Like I'm damn proud of the product that we all put out and that we put out together as a team. And I think it's something where, and I'm sure like people who are tuning in for politics tonight are like, what the hell is going on? This is not normal for them. But this is our history. This is a historic show for us. This is a big step as to where SHR is.
It is. It's an amazing benchmark.
It absolutely is.
Me and you had the conversation. We didn't know if we had ever hit this benchmark.
I wondered so many times.
Yeah.
And we all knew, like I said, we all knew it was a throttling issue. Yeah. If you go back and you listen to the Liberty Cast that he used to put out, it stood up next to any other podcast that was out during the time. But because of the content that he covered, it was throttled. You go back even to our early SHR shows when we had the studio set up. I mean, we've talked about this before, but we went from recording on my couch to recording in my work office to the first studio, the second studio, and the third studio. Like we were making advances. Our technology improved greatly. Our product improved greatly. And you'd have people on as guests, or you have people that were listening that you knew were listeners and stuff like, how do you guys not get more exposure? And it's like, because big tech killed us and they wanted to murder us.
And we're always trying to up our equipment. I mean, I went from just within the last 6 months from a new mixer to a pretty nice mixer, mic, then camera I upgraded. I rebuilt a computer and got it a really nice RAM. Nice lighting in here. I changed the backdrop to get it more professional. New monitors, everything from top to bottom. And it'll be down the road to start looking at, okay, what do I need to change next?
Yeah.
Where do we give a better product?
The same thing, though. Technology told he was going to change some things. He didn't really want to at the time. His entire board and microphone, if I'm not wrong, all went out within a week of each other.
Holy crap.
No, the mic, I've had the mic for a while. I mean, this is a pretty nice mic, but yeah, the board, I don't even remember what you call it, but yeah, everything just fried. And I really didn't have a choice.
And that's what technology does to you. BOD says it really brings the tears out your eyes. It does, and your ass.
I don't have an ass, though.
Wherever you want it to come out from is totally fine by us. No, so SHR in the future. Obviously, we're going to try to grow our relationship, and again, I can't say this enough with our friends who've helped us build through the years. And we mentioned Danny Butcher, Ken McClinton, obviously Jeff, all those folks that we talked about. Melanie's another big name. Melanie Collette, who's now on Newsmax 15 times a week. And she started, one of her shows was with us, Money Talk.
Isn't she a city councilman now also?
She was, no, she was a county commissioner for a while.
And big time in New Jersey GOP.
Yeah. And, and we were fortunate too. That was the other thing is when I tell you, I want to see people do better. And she was another one where she started off just doing a podcast. She started off on Ken's show, super intelligent, but never dabbled her toe into this aspect of it. And when she started with SHR, well, come on board. Like, we'll give it a shot. We'll help you get what we can to get set up. And then she just ran like gangbusters. And like I said, now she's on Newsmax all the time. And, you can't book her because she's so busy. But she still reaches out on a regular basis and says hi and talks to me. And, so SHR in the future is about growth. If we can add a voice or two that meets the criteria and is doing what we need it to do, and it's a mutually beneficial, but,
I don't think we're going to throw somebody in just to fill a spot.
Yeah, I was going to say at this point,
they have to have the chops.
At this point, if you don't mix well with the team and you don't have a good product, I can't do that to everybody else.
We can always help with the product to get the product.
I'll help anyone get started. I've helped 100 people get started in their own little podcast, and I'll do it 100 more times. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. The more voices, the better. I say that all the time. We can be pretty staunch in our beliefs, and we can be pretty hardcore in how we say things. But there's not enough conversation, and there's too much screaming in the political world. And that doesn't mean that people can't be absolutely entrenched in their beliefs. You should be. But there's too much saying. There's too much just vitriol. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like, I get pissed at some of these lawmakers, but that's different than lawmakers deserve it.
I get pissed at the left and right.
I do get pissed at the right too. But like the average person on X, like we have all these trolls that come into the chat room and they immediately start with all the bullshit, right? And that just shows you like where we are as society. Because there's some that come in and just listen and they'll make their comments, but they're usually fairly intelligent. And I disagree with you because of X, Y, and Z. Cool. I'm glad you're here. And then you have the other ones who are in there like, oh, you suck donkey balls. And it's like, well, first of all, who told you? Second of all,
well, I'll give you a perfect example from my show Monday night. I had a guy sitting there talking, oh, you're the type of person that sleeps with a gun under your head.
Yeah.
Under my chin. What does that bring to the conversation? How does that advance?
And I get it. You have trolls from all over the world that come to YouTube. I totally get it that they're 18-year-olds that have never touched a female that are sitting in mom's basement, just like, I have to go harass people on the internet. But what frustrates me is when people start having the political conversation in there, and then they don't like what you're saying or what other people in the chat room are saying, and then they immediately get mean. That happened on E's show yesterday or this morning or whatever. There was a dude who he wasn't getting the response that he wanted, and he started off really polite, and then when you were pushing back and disagreeing with him, then all of a sudden, you're a fucking asshole, you're this, you're that, you must be racist, this, that. And it's just like, dude, all you have to say is, I don't want to be here anymore and I'd like to leave now, and walk out the door. Nobody's holding you in the chat room, but they can't even do that.
That's what I love. They talk all that smack, but they stay.
Yeah.
It's like,
that guy
they tell you how stupid you are. They tell you how much you're a Nazi. They tell you how much you're a bootlicker.
It ought to be taken off the air.
Hit me harder, longer, faster.
I don't think we're doing a call-in session.
Yeah, we're not doing call-ins tonight. because we're getting near the end. We're getting near the end anyhow.
The guy yesterday that was in chat with you that kept asking the same question. And then when a couple of us kind of told him to knock it off, oh, what's the problem? You're trying to hijack the show. He's not talking about that. He told you he's not. He's being mean. You're being mean.
He was mad that I would not change my whole show to have the conversation he wanted to have versus, and that's the other, and I call that a little bit of the YouTube syndrome because there are so many creators on here that just do nothing but fight with people. And that they come on just with the intention of arguing with the chat room. And it's
That's why I stopped even looking at the chat room right now because
we have a show. We lay out our show. We outline, we have our facts, we're doing all the stuff that we want to talk about. And we're doing a really I sign up to be berated by Big E.
There's a line. Go ahead.
There's a line.
It's a line, isn't it?
Oh God. You know what? I can't say that anymore. I almost said something that I can't say anymore. But it's one of those things where it's like we're not here just to scream at each other. Like we're literally here trying to present stuff and educate people. And you can disagree, but most of us come from a place of source documentation in our argument. Even if it's a news segment, we're talking about the source of that news segment. EOD operator, I will tell you some stories off air. I can tell you stories.
Easy now.
Oh no.
I have a very good friend.
I can remember specifically saving 2 people's lives because they thought they were going to get some sort of hometown treatment out of Big E, and they tried to walk around me and go to him, and I ended up almost having to save their lives. It was pretty hysterical.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's a story.
Hold on.
I'd like to hear.
Bullshit.
It was the funniest thing ever, man.
I have a very good friend. He's liberal, and we will go at it because he lives in Texas now. We'll go back and forth, but we're not vicious to each other. We'll disagree wholeheartedly. And it's gotten, I don't want to say heated, but it's gotten kind of intense a couple times. But in the end of it, he stole my brother from another mother, as we both like to say. Yeah. And when I needed a job at one point, he owned a bar and he gave me a job. He was there for me and he hardly knew me, and we've always been there for each other. We disagree.
That's awesome because there are somebody that I grew up with from the time I think I met him in 7th grade. He was one of my core group of friends. And when he got married and I was in the military, he and his wife ended up being very liberal, and I was obviously conservative. We would have some of the best discussions. We would laugh and joke and disagree. And then all of a sudden, guess what happened?
He got the illness.
Barack Obama got elected. And how can you be a black man and not vote for the black man? And it just went even more vicious from down there. We're not friends anymore.
Which sucks. That part blows. However, do you remember the night I called you when Obama was elected? What was the first question I asked you? Do you remember?
I don't remember, actually.
I asked you if your mortgage was paid. Because we were being told, remember?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Obama's going to pay all the black man's mortgages. Obama's going to do this for the black. So as soon as he was elected, I called Earl up, and it was probably 11 o'clock at night. I was like, hey, is your mortgage all paid off yet? Because I hear you getting the shake. And I think he had a couple of choice words for me.
And at 11 o'clock, Earl, 11 o'clock.
Oh, seriously.
Not 6, 11 o'clock. Good God.
Oh gosh. It was fun. And that's one of the reasons, like, as soon as I had the opportunity to come back and bring Earl into the mix, I have history with him, but I also know who he is and how intelligent he is because I've known him for years and how he presents. But knowing I had an opportunity and we have an opportunity, it was like, yeah, no, I need you to be here. Like you've been part of my life for decades now, literal decades now. and you can only add to this team that's already a good team. I mean, the two other boys have been here for a long time doing it, so it's awesome to see that work. Because when you add somebody to a small group, especially when you have a core group, there's always that one chance, right? That it won't work for some reason. And even if you're all conservative, look, I've fought with conservatives. I've argued with conservatives.
Oh, hell yeah. And having been supervisor in a lot of small units, patrol, evac,
He said small units,
20 people or fewer per team. All it needs is just one underminer, one turd in the punch bowl, and it can kill the unity.
That's all it takes.
Yep. And I knew, like I said, when I said to the boys, I'm like, hey, I'm going to ask E, and they were all on board, obviously, because I'm in charge. And no, they were all on board. And
you were still on double secret probation back then.
I was still on double secret probation back then. However, I was on the double secret probation back then that was fixing everything. So I didn't really think anyone was going to fight with me. But I also knew, hey, Zahara's in the chat. I also knew bringing Ian that he was only going to add to the team, because obviously Ian and I used to be partners in law enforcement. Like, we spent hours and hours and hours together, both inside and outside of work. And I knew who he was. And I left it at that.
Yes, you did.
I didn't bring up almost an entire handle of Captain Morgan that we murdered one night.
Oh, yeah, we go.
Morgan. Oh, yeah, no, we were angry at the world, I think, that night for some reason.
Which we can't remember anymore.
I was going to say, I couldn't even tell you by the end. I could tell you how we ended the night because we were watching Blazing Saddles.
Yep.
And Lonnie Poindexter won't ever forget that night either, will he?
No, that wasn't a Lonnie night.
But
no,
this was Lonnie, a bottle, and Lonnie.
Oh, Lonnie in the studio. Yeah.
Yes.
I have a tendency to, when I get people comfortable. Well, he wasn't like that, because back in our day when we were still partying, that wasn't like a far-fetched thing for us to consume an entire handle of anything. And then somehow wake up the next day fresh as a daisy to go back to work, which was absolutely incredible. But
back when
let's try doing that now.
Oh gosh, now forget it. Or we'd be at Kelly's grabbing a roast beef at 3 a.m. Oh gosh. But yeah, no. So Lonnie Poindexter, I love this story. Lonnie was on with BZ one night, and this was when I wasn't even broadcasting, I don't think.
No, you're just knocking around the studio.
Well, the studio is my house. And at the time, people forget the studio for SHR was in my living room at my house. So even when I wasn't broadcasting, Clint and BZ were still coming into my house a couple times a week to do their shows in my living room. So like, I literally was like, I couldn't get away from SHR even then. And Lonnie came to be a guest in studio with BZ. And I said, hey, Lonnie, you want to, I forget what bourbon I had. I had a decent bourbon. I said, you want a glass of bourbon? He was like, yeah, I'd love a glass. And that was, before the show. And Lonnie, for the people that don't know, the Lion Chaser himself, the world's best dressed man, is this such a decent and calm and nice human being. Like, he's just such a great person, and not what I would call a drinker. From what I knew of him at that point. So he said, I'll have one when I'm on the air, but I'm doing a show, and it's not uncommon for us to drink on the air at SHR. That's not like oh my God, you can't do that. No, we do that. And so yeah, cool. So we poured, and I sat off camera, and every single time Lonnie's glass would get a little low, I'd sneak over during the break or whatever and just top it off for him, because I'm a gentleman, right? And I love Lonnie. I always loved Lonnie. Flash forward, the show ended at 10 p.m. BZ left at like 10:30. Lonnie and I were halfway through the bottle already. 3 o'clock in the morning, Lonnie had to call an Uber to go home because we killed an entire bottle of bourbon. And we were carrying on like it was nobody's business. So yeah, no, that's just who we are as a network right there. Is when we welcome somebody in, we welcome them in, but we also have a blast while we're doing it. 13A Aguadilla Street. E. And that's not even Washington, Columbia.
No. Wow. You're
So
going way back.
That's when I saved that guy's life. I remember exactly where we were. So I do appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the work, and to all the people who have shown up lately and supported us. Thank you very much. But
there have been a ton.
There have been a ton.
We must acknowledge our newer listeners and chatters. I mean, that we have almost exploded over the past, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months. It's been great.
It has been wonderful. EOD, if you go to shrmedia.com, our schedule's on almost every page there. You can just scroll down and find it. I'll show you who's on, when, and how. And I also
sure at the end of this show, we'll be going over also.
But we also, to the folks that have supported us through the years, either individually or as a network, and to the friends, and I know I've mentioned KLR a handful of times, but Ricky really has supported SHR, especially when we started to reemerge and making sure that we got everything back on the air. And it's been friends like that have absolutely built us up, and they're certainly not forgotten. I mentioned earlier Smokey Joe in Texas, or Smokey in Texas, who has been listening to from the Sackheads days on Blog Talk Radio, who was nice enough to say a nice word. So we appreciate it. Believe it or not, you guys are why we do this. I know for my show, and I'm sure I'm speaking for the boys a little bit, which I have been all night. But we do this show because we want to bring a conversation that we all think needs to be had in one way or the other, and information that needs to be had. And we want to spread, the things that are great about this country, and also discuss the things that suck about this country, which unfortunately we have a lot of now. And we also believe in this country. We believe in the founding of this country. We're not afraid of the history of this country, and we want to see it preserved. I say it all the time. I'm doing everything I can from where I can to preserve this for my kids in the future. I know Joe is the same thing, and it's legacy, and it's who we are. I mean, Earl comes from a family of outright conservatism, and has a legacy there himself besides himself. And BZ, BZ is, I think, the only one of us who grew up a hippie, liberal, crazy lunatic before he turned around and became a true conservative.
Taxes. It'll do it every time.
That'll do it every time.
Guaranteed.
Well, you were also in the 60s at Haight-Ashbury. That might, when you're a young person in the 60s at Haight-Ashbury, that might turn anybody liberal for a little while, just by absorption.
People laugh at that. I lived in San Francisco.
I know that. I'm not saying anything that's untrue. Thank you, EOD operator and Zahara, for the super chats. Thank you. But yeah, so I think, am I wrong in what I say, boys? Am I pretty accurate?
No, we all support each other, one
absolutely.
for all and all for one.
And we all believe in this country.
Yeah.
And we all believe that this country does lead the world in liberty and freedom, however imperfect that we are. We are the shining city on the hill, right? I mean, we all agree to that. We are the last great bastion of hope for a lot of this world. And we want to make sure that we're doing our founders justice, and we're doing our history justice, and we're doing the future justice. And I know there are all those little liberals who are going to see this and say, "Oh, you're racist," and blah, 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 blah. And I mean this in the nicest possible way. Go fuck yourself. Because as I've said, as I've said 100 times, we're trying to preserve what this country is supposed to be and bring us back closer to our founding documents. And you're trying to usurp it and change it into this grotesque socialist communist nightmare. You are the insurgents. We are not. We are the defenders.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I wish we can get the country. I wish I can show my daughter the country that I was raised in, because we sure as hell don't have that now.
New Jersey? Why the hell would you do that to her?
True.
Actually, I tell a lot of people, if you actually haven't driven through New Jersey, more of it is beautiful than it is horrible.
It really is.
Pretty gorgeous.
It really is.
No, I agree. I wish we could get back to being more simple, and it's hard with technology, and it's hard.
I was saying the other day, or maybe it was earlier today, But Generation X, the generation that we're a part of, aside from BZ, obviously.
Yeah, he's Generation A.
Is the
I thought
the
he was
last
Generation Dirt,
because we didn't grow up with all this technology. We got to learn it as adults. And when you look at what some of these kids now, millennials and Gen Z and Alpha, and you just, I mean, I work with some of them. What's wrong with you? Like, how did you get so entitled? How did you get so... You're actually going to try and tell me how to do my job that I've been doing since before you were born? Really? Shut up.
Oh, geez, Biggie, you just gave me... I had this college kid come in. I had been in EMS 10, 15 years. And he's trying to tell me he just literally got his EMT. And he's trying to tell me how to do my job. I'm like, boy, I got boots with more experience than you.
Yeah. I can remember... Actually, it was you were out with your shoulder surgery. Francis Macklin Rivera, 3-name we used to call him. And he was out of the academy probably 3 weeks, and we were on a call, and I forget, it was a domestic or something. And he's like, aren't we really supposed to do this? And I looked at him, and I was like, yep, now shut the fuck up.
I had that idiot. He turned around, him and another one, they were out of Trenton State College. And we had this older gentleman who passed away, and he was over a tub, and we flipped him over. The bottom half was, you could see the lividity, you could see rigor mortis. He was gone. He had agonal respirations, though. The brain was still trying to say I'm alive, but there was no saving this guy. So I'm calling the code, and these two idiots are like, oh no, look, he's still breathing, the book says. I was like, no, we're not doing it. Yay, we got it. I was like, all right, you're doing everything then. I walked outside. I'm sitting outside the apartment. The medics walk up and they're like, why are you having a cigarette? We were told this is a code. I said, well, I did call it. Oh, so you're canceling us? No, my idiots want to work it. And they just looked at me like, you. And the guy had an upper GI, which, not to get too grotesque, but you throw up and it looks like coffee grounds.
Right.
And it is a messy code to work that one. And we got done with it. The medics walked in there and bitched them out because they had to now get down there and work on this. We got back to the building. They're like, aren't you going to help clean? No, this is your call. Now you get to clean up the mess.
You told them they were going to do it all.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because I will say too, you can attest to this. Boston H&H, they were really good about, do we need to put on the show or can we call it here? But if you told them like, hey, can you put on the show? The family's here or whatever. And you'd prep them when they were coming through the door. They were great about making that look great. And you knew, I mean, you knew when you got to a call, we didn't have to be medics. We'd been doing it long enough where you're like, oh, okay. But yeah, just like the operator said, imagine going to school for a year to learn how to defuse bombs, and you get to the field and try to tell the 17-year-old team leader it's not how they taught us in school.
Well, what was best about that call is
I learned wall-to-wall training. Yeah, you hit every wall, I bet.
That guy gave that agonal respiration out of nowhere, scared the shit out of the cop. I never seen a cop run out of a room so fast in my life.
Oh yeah, I want nothing to do with medical calls. Yeah. And the worst part, I'll tell you right now, now we're just BSing. People are going to get bored soon, but I tell you the worst part about Footbeat is you would usually hear the medical call before the 911 call was made. And it would sound like somebody was being murdered, and then you'd beat on the door and you get someone to open the door and you'd find like somebody fell down the flight of stairs and 4 bones are sticking out of their legs. And you're like, oh God, you gonna do something? Yeah, I'm gonna go wait outside, make sure the ambulance doesn't pass the house. You stay with him. He knows you.
No, that's a call that afterwards I go get a nice bloody steak.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. No problem. I just don't want to deal with it.
Sorry, I got to tell one last story. We did a cadaver class, and me, my EMS partner, and this female that was riding with us a lot. We went to the cadaver class. You know, you're looking everything inside and out. We got done, and me and my partner were like, all right, we're hungry. We're gonna go get something to eat. We hit one of the restaurants, and we got 2 bloody hamburgers.
Oh yeah,
and they had named the cadavers Bonnie and Clyde. So we're sitting there looking at each going, oh, I wonder if this was Bonnie or is that one Clyde? She wouldn't even touch ketchup for over a year.
That's hysterical.
And now she's a physician assistant.
Yeah. No, it's funny how you grow up and become really immune to some things really quick. Well, BZ, I know we stayed over time, and I this walk down memory lane has been fantastic, and thank you so much for having us on and letting us Bigfoot Year Show for this milestone for SHR Media.
I gotta tell you off the bat, I have a depraved sense of humor, as do we all.
Yeah, I was gonna say, welcome to the club.
I enjoy the sense of humor of EOD operator and Zahara. Thank you for the offer, for the music that you volunteered through AI, I think probably AI creation. And hit us with some of the links and we would love to hear what you've got.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The links are in the chat. I mean, or in the SHR Media page. We really appreciate it. Or you can find us on social media. I mean, we all have our little tags, so you can find us.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So anyway, that's it for the show. Now, since we're all here and you're wondering why I called you all here tonight.
I do have one complaint.
If you tell me
you played my old show, but you didn't play his old show.
You're just pointing to yourself now.
Well,
oh shit!
So
yeah.
Wait a minute.
A different screen.
Oh no!
Wait a minute.
Oh, we were leaving, isn't there?
No.
Wait a doggone minute. Here. Oh wait. Do I have it queued up? I sure do. I do.
The strangest. Joe, she's more than welcome to. Had the strangest flavor to it. I thought it was horrible. It used to be everywhere, though. It was an orange can. It was like a picture of like a 1940s guy smoking a cigarette. Thing. It was just called Moxie.
Yeah, Moxie.
And it was absolutely terrible.
What was it, like a dime a drink?
It was cheap.
That's
as
Clint.
all
That's
hell.
Sackhead's
And
Clint.
it was just, and I can remember growing up. It's funny. My father had a friend whose name was Reno.
Headphones.
And he used to drink it all the time. That was like his go-to drink.
Wait, was it Reno? Was he from Vegas?
No, that would be irony. I'm trying to pull up Moxie.
There was Dallas. He was from Pittsburgh.
Drinkmoxie.com. They still have a website. I guess they still make it.
They do. Still today.
And it's there. They're on Facebook, Twitter. So Moxie.
Notice whose face is there. Now you can hear Clint, but you can't see him. And anyway, that's an homage back to April the 6th of 2015.
Sorry, Sean, I had to throw you under.
EOD, I was literally half the man I am today. Trust me. I am double the man I was back then, but probably not in the best of ways. Yeah, no, that was a long time ago. That was 11 years. And we were on video and we didn't even have the ability to split screens. We had to choose one person or the other on video back then.
You didn't give the poor bastard an opportunity. That's sad.
Clint?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I swap to him, all you're going to see is his fucking nose in the camera anyhow.
Oh, God. We could do a whole show just on that.
Oh, God. That was. I wish one of these days I'm going to have to find time and go through and do some of the best of just us making fun of each other. Because
that's all
that
we
was
did.
So much fun. That was a good time back then. But yeah, no, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all of you.
I think perhaps it would probably be best if we. Before I do this, I want to ask. We are all in unity in terms of we're going to do another show, or is this it, or are we going to go?
This is it now.
Oh, okay. All right. So. Having said that, let me end the show on this. Nothing but boogers.
That is
and
so
folks,
appropriate.
That's how I'd like to end this show. Nothing but boogers. So let's start at the upper right. Sean, where can people find your show? And hey, I think you're on very soon. Are you not?
Monday and Wednesday night. So tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, right here on SHR YouTube. Rumble, Facebook, anywhere the socials are, you can find us. If you want to connect with me directly, the number 2 Against Tyranny. I also write on SHR Media, and I also write over at theloftusparty.net.
And also, hey, going around, let's see, this way, down that way. Yoisy, yo, what do you say?
You can catch me every Monday and Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the right coast. What is that, 6 p.m. on the lefty side of the coast?
6 p.m. Pacific.
You can also get me on
Good to know your math skills are kicking up.
What?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah, move. Keep going.
You can catch me on X at Jersey Joe Talks and all the shows on all the social medias and all that fun stuff.
Okay. And of course, we have this gentleman, which is, let me see if I get this right. There, Earl, Biggie Jackson, and Sir.
You can catch my show every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 Central, noon Eastern. On all the channels, Facebook, not Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and you can catch me on all the socials at Mission Ready Men on X, Instagram, Facebook. I'm really easy to find.
He's standing up the crowd.
I also want to say this. Earl, thank you for taking one for the team, because you're a working man and you got to get up pretty early. So thank you for staying here so late. Thanks to
absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Evidently.
Why is everybody always fucking nicer to him no matter what?
Because he works.
He stays up late.
I'm an ancient retired fuck.
It's 1 o'clock here.
But I know you and I talk.
You don't understand. This goes back to even my family back in the day, where they literally would be. I'd walk in the door to a family event, and they'd all ask me how Earl was. Like, I'm doing good, thanks.
Yeah, how's that good friend of yours, Earl? We like.
Earl going to come today? Is Earl going to do this? How's Earl been? Blah 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 blah.
Oh, now I'm getting. When's Earl's show on? Yeah. Not when's my show. When's Earl's show on?
I can remember when he was out with his shoulder surgery. They were like, "Well, are you going to be okay by yourself?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I worked before I met Earl. Like, I'll be okay. I can do this."
Okay, wait, hang on. This just in.
Oh God.
That deserves its own just in and of itself.
That is amazing. Thank you, sir.
The podcast, you son of a bitch.
Wait, and also for Sean. I didn't write that.
How come I'm always the asshole?
I didn't tell anybody to write that. Nothing.
You're from Boston.
Yeah, I know.
This is awesome.
He is too. No, that doesn't even work. He's from fucking Boston too.
So everybody, thanks for being here tonight. I'm BZ. That's Sean. That's Jersey Joe. That's Big E, boy. Earl Jackson. And tomorrow night, is that good, Sean? Yes. And then Thursday morning, Big E, Jackson, Mission Ready Men. And then Thursday evening, me. And then Friday night, 6 p.m. down here.
And if you look at it, who opens the week up for SHR and closes it?
Jersey Joe. I think that was intentional.
He is our doorman.
Yes. Not dormant. He is not dormant. He's the great guy. Wait a minute. Okay, finally, this is it. We are finally going to close the show on.
I knew it.
and that's
FNG.
That's how I want to be.
Did you just say FNG?
Yep,
he did. Yes, he did. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. Let's see, Sean. Good night. Jersey Joe, good night. Big E, good night. I don't want to fight. I'm saying good night to everybody. So thanks for listening in. Thanks for partaking. And remember, there are two kinds of people in this world. Avoid both of them.